Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. I'm Aisha, your host. In our series on remarkable women, we've explored the lives of inspiring women throughout history. As we wrap up the series, let's consider what are some lessons we have learned, and where can we go to continue learning about remarkable women in Islamic history? Joining me is Dr. Shabir Ally to continue the conversation. Welcome to the show, Dr. Shabir.
Pleasure to be on.
So, is Islamic history on female leadership lost?
Well, a lot of work is being done to recover this, and it's not lost altogether, but it has been neglected for many centuries. It's not only in Islam. We find that in societies in general, the women's suffrage movement is only recent, and the rise of feminism in the world is a rather recent phenomenon. Whereas in the past, most societies were patriarchal, and Islamic societies were a natural part of their environment as well. And they had many of similar features with other cultures. But what is interesting is that when one looks well enough in the Islamic tradition, one does find that, first of all, the Quran places women on an equal footing with men, and there is much in Islamic history that celebrates the worth and value and intellect of women.
Now, in our series, we only selected a specific and few number of women, and obviously that's not all of the women in Islamic history. Was that intentional on your end?
Well, naturally, we had to limit it for the nature of our show. We don't want the series to drag on forever, but every good thing must come to an end, and we wanted to bring it to a close. But to give a sort of exemplary view, or an initial view, using a few examples for various periods, we looked at the Quranic presentation of women who were prior to our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So we looked at ancient prophets and women from that period. We looked at, for example, the wives of Abraham, Sarah and Hagar. We looked at the wife of Pharaoh, who is mentioned in the Bible, but given a much better presentation in the Quran, being presented for her piety and righteousness, and as an example for other women of later times, so women who may live under an oppressor, but who can have an independent mind and choose their own faith. It's very interesting. We looked also at Mary, the mother of Jesus, and saw that the Quranic presentation of her is different, and she remains a good example for Muslim women of all time. And then we looked at the Islamic period. We looked at some of the daughters of the Prophet, peace be upon him, as examples. We cited Zainab and Fatima. We looked at some of the wives of the Prophet, peace be upon him, like, for example, Aisha, and we looked at women even within the wider scope of the Muslim community at the time, Asma bint Abu Bakr, the daughter of Abu Bakr. We went even beyond that to the later period of Islam. We looked at Rabia of Basra. We looked who was known for her spirituality, and then Hani, who was known for her scholasticity, I figured that gives a kind of an overview of the whole history from, you can say, from creation all the way down. But if we wanted to go further, we have more examples. For example, if we wanted to deal with more recent times, we could have cited Bint Shate, who that's a nickname that she adopted. It means daughter of the shore. And she was an ocean of knowledge. She compiled many works, biography of the Prophet, peace be upon him, biographies of some of the wives of the Prophet, peace be upon him. She wrote on tafsir, commentary on the Quran, and left a lasting impression in that field. So there have been other women, and there continue to be women in our present times who are leading in scholarship, and we need to recognize that.
And this by no means was to express all of the Muslim women. There's a lot more that we could have covered, but we didn't.
True. We just wanted to get some representative samples just to show the overview of the flow of history and how women have contributed to knowledge and Islamic practice, and how they have remained role models for later times.
I know for me, I was hoping that the series would, help dispel some of the stereotypes that we see about Muslim women in the media and share a positive light. So that, I think, we've tried to do that. What was your intention with the series?
Very similar. When we look at the lives of these women and we look at the contributions that they have made for society, we see that women in Islam do actually have a very important place, and this place has largely been unrecognized in history. Although we have gone into history and brought forth these examples, we are still looking here at societies in which women generally played a minor public role. Their greater contribution to society was expected to be in the home. They were rearers of their children, they disciplined their children, taught them Islamic manners and customs and knowledge more generally. They served their husbands at home. They remained hidden largely, and for much of Islamic history they did not become public contributors to discussions in society. And this is different from the initial period. We looked at Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, peace be upon him, whom we regard as the mother of the believers, and how she engaged politically, how she engaged with knowledge. She discussed matters of knowledge with Muslim men. Sometimes she overcame them in debate because she had knowledge about the Prophet's practice, and she was ready to contradict whoever would come up with their own newfangled doctrine about what the Prophet, peace be upon him, said or did. And so we see that there has been a transition, women having a public role in the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, to later on no public role or very little.
Do we know why that happened, specifically within that time period?
Well, there have been many developments. One development is what Christopher Melkert referred to as the piety of the Hadith folk. People who were concerned with the shaping of Islam, in particular with the collection of Hadith, developed a sort of piety that wanted to see a puritanical sort of society. And in a puritanical society in the Muslim context, having women in the public sphere would be seen as a distraction for men, something that draws their attention away from God. So this public sentiment was it's better for women not to be seen, so that men can carry on and they can be devout as well. Whereas, of course, women would have no problem. They would be in their homes and they would be devoted to God. Men would attend the mosques. Women would pray in their inner chambers. So there would be less evil in society. And looking back, one can see that in many cultures governed by this kind of segregation, people excelled, at least in that one area. But we have to excel in all areas, and there's always a trade-off. We have to strike a balance. It's almost like the joke told about the kid who came home with a report card having 3 F's and a C. So his mom asked him, how do you explain this, 3 F's and 1 C? He said, well, Mom, obviously I concentrated too hard on that one subject.
As opposed to the others.
Yeah. And so it's possible that we may have concentrated too hard on that one subject. And even then, you don't get an A, because human nature is like this. If you, almost like a bubble in a bottle, if you turn the bottle upside down, the bubble is still there, just in a different place. So if you segregate Muslim societies like this, men in the mosque, women at home, then you might be scoring points in terms of like sexual attraction. Nobody's attracted to anybody because they don't see each other. But you could have problems arising, or the same problem of attraction may have been shifted into another area, just like the bubble has moved to another part of the bottle. So people still have attractions and thoughts and desires, and much of this can be mental as well. So we in any case, even if we're scoring big in that area, it's just that one area. So we could be getting a C in that area, but F's in the other areas. And one glaring area in which we haven't done very well is in the promotion of women throughout history in the fields of education and science and development, and even in Islamic scholarship. If we think of traditional Muslim types of learning.
Now, if people want to continue learning on their own, do you have any resources that you would advise people to turn to?
Yes, there are several works which we could recommend in this field. I have with me here a book entitled Al-Muhaddithat, The Women Scholars of Islam by Muhammad Akram Nadwi. This actually is a stylized rendition of the introduction to a 40-volume book in Arabic, 40 volumes.
Wow.
And those volumes contain biographies of women scholars of hadith. So that's one aspect of Islam, the collection and transmission of reported sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, called hadith. So the women scholars who excelled in that area, 40-volume work containing the biographies of these women. This is just a stylized introduction to give us an idea, called Al-Muhaddithat. The women scholars of hadith, to say that in English. There are several other books which are written in modern times which will give us an insight into the way in which women have been perceived in history and the way in which we can revisit that whole question. For example, Asma Barlas has written several books, including her book, Believing Women in Islam.
This was a very inspiring series for me, so thank you so much, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.